Trustee Riley,
Here.
Trustee Alexander,
Hello.
Trustee Baldacci,
Hello.
Trustee Eames, Trustee Cates.
Here on audio.
I believe that's who we have at this time. Thank you.
And that is a quorum, correct?
Yes, it's a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I would remind participants to please keep their microphones muted when they're speaking. And the first item on the agenda is student representatives. And Jeff, you're going to introduce that.
I will, Trustee McMahon, if I can find any of them on the screen here. I haven't seen any of the students join as yet. We had, as you know, we had 3 join us for our prep meeting a week or so ago, but I'm not seeing any of them or any of the others on screen right now.
It is finals week, though, correct?
It is finals week. We did apprise them of that fact when we prepared for the change of date for this meeting, and no one registered any objections or concerns. But I would imagine that they're all busy. Oh, Mish is here from USM. Mish, welcome. You are right now representing all the student voices on this call. Any topics that you would like to raise this morning or share this morning? Can you hear me, Mish?
Oh, now I can. I'm sorry, my headphones were acting up.
Good morning. Just
Morning.
inviting any topics or thoughts you'd like to raise, because I haven't yet seen other student representatives join the call.
Oh, sure. We met ahead of time, and I think we didn't have any topics that we wanted to deliver. There are a couple in the works that some of the other student reps are interested in, but I think they're not quite ready for delivery.
Okay, thank you. I will, for the benefit of all the trustees, we did have a couple of topics come up during the check-in prep meeting that Trustee McMahon and I did with the students, but several of them were campus specific, and in those cases, we usually encourage the students to speak first with their campus leadership to see if they can have a productive conversation about whatever's on their mind before bringing something more broadly to ASA.
So shall we move on to the next topic, Jeff?
I think so. Thank you. So I know that we have, saw Heather Nunez Olmsted with us from UMPI, Tim Surrett from UMA, Clyde Mitchell is here from Farmington. And that's my count so far, but welcome to all 3 of you, and happy to hear topics of interest or concern or questions from you today. Thank you.
We also have William Otto on screen and Jeff Main that I saw. And
Great.
so
Thank you.
first topic, Clyde.
Good morning, Chair McMahon. So I did raise this in the pre-meeting with Jeff and Trustee McMahon. The faculty have some concerns with compliance with the new changes of, I think it's Title II with disability that will be effective in about April 24th, that it comes into play. And we really just wanted to bring it to the trustees' attention. All digital material that is student-facing will need to be compliant. And so the things that certainly concern some faculty is that the workload to get this done may be significant. So, for example, if we think of UMA where they teach primarily online, this would mean taking all courses that are online and ensuring that all digital material is compliant. So can everything be read, machine read? Are there closed captioning and descriptions in all the videos that are being used? So some faculty have estimated that could be like 1,500 hours to get that work done. And so it's out of our scope as faculty to say who's going to do that work and where the cost is going to be borne, because I know that's something that the unions are addressing. what worries me is that what is the complete cost to the system of the man hours involved in doing this conversion? Will there be assistance provided? Does that have a cost attached to it? Is there something that faculty will be expected to do kind of in load? And again, that's kind of in the union domain. I do worry. I mean, obviously, I teach primarily in person, and I can move materials off of Brightspace, which is the kind of the platform that will be analyzed by the Blackboard Ally, which is the new software. So I can move material off there and I can hand out material, but faculty that have been teaching online for a very long time and have like 20 or 30 courses, there's a lot of work potentially involved. Going forward, I would imagine all of us, new courses, will make sure that it's compliant because we have the software. So that's the one side. The other side that concerns me is that what happens if, for example, there's no agreement on like providing assistance for faculty at some of the campuses that are affected. And if faculty are, I'm not going to say that in the wrong way, but like non-compliant. So I have some faculty in my campus, and what's going to happen if they don't do all this conversion work? That will be flagged by Blackboard Ally, and I worry that it could be something that could be used to, challenge our campus. And we're in a very unfavorable kind of climate with respect to academia. So that's my worry. But I'm going to stop talking and hand over to Tim. Thank you, everyone.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Clyde. Thanks, Chair. So I brought this up at the recent meeting with the other reps and Jeff, a concern on our campus about the removal of the architecture program and the art program from Handley Hall. So they'll be moved to new buildings, and they'll be functioning out of new buildings on the UMA campus starting in the fall. And those programs, the faculty from those programs were very upset. They felt as though they weren't included on the initial discussions. There were concerns about shared governance not being included in the initial discussions, with having to remove them from Handley Hall. There's a presumption that Handley Hall will be sold. So this is a building in downtown Augusta. And there was, some upset faculty across programs about this. And the art and architecture faculty, the tenure faculty, wanted me to read a statement that outlined their concerns, and they can express their concerns because they're somewhat complicated and somewhat specific to these two programs. But so I have a statement to read. Dear members of the Board of Trustees, we write to you today regarding a matter of critical importance to the academic integrity, financial liability, and program accreditation status at the University of Maine at Augusta. A unilateral decision to vacate and presumably sell Handley Hall has been made, a building gifted to UMA in 2009 and then renovated for the specific teaching needs of the architecture and art programs. On November 7, 2025, the UMA Faculty Senate unanimously passed a resolution opposing the administration's unilateral decision to sell Handley Hall and relocate the Bachelor of Architecture and Bachelor of Arts and Art programs due to a lack of shared governance. Despite the unanimous nature of this resolution and the profound academic risks involved in vacating and selling a teaching building without suitable replacement teaching spaces, President Cushman has declined to address our concerns, stating in writing her intention to disregard the Senate's position. We present this issue to the board as a facilities dispute and as a breakdown of the shared governance principles explicitly endorsed by the Board of Trustees, principles which establish that faculty consultation is critical in matters of academic policy and curriculum delivery. The risks to accreditation and academic integrity. The proposed sale of Handley Hall is not as a simple real estate transaction. It represents a substantive change under the National Architecture Accrediting Board, NAAB guidelines. The administration's plan to proceed without the required prior NAAB approval puts the program's accreditation, currently secure until 2030, in immediate jeopardy. NAAB standards require programs to demonstrate adequate physical resources, including dedicated studio, fabrication, and critique spaces. Handley Hall was refurbished 13 years ago specifically to meet these rigorous standards. The 2022 NAAB Visiting Team Report explicitly cited the close physical and philosophical links between the architecture and art programs in Handley Hall. Sorry, I've just lost my place, as a unique strength. Breaking this link by moving to inadequate facilities would invite citations of deficiency and potential probation. Furthermore, no viable alternative exists. Faculty review of proposed relocation sites reveals they are insufficient in size and condition. Initial estimates suggest that replicating the location would require over $1.6 million in renovations, trading a paid-for, high-functioning asset for a costly temporary deficit. Pedagogical and civic value. Handley Hall functions as a specialized academic instrument. Its open floor plan enables vertical integration, where first-year students learn alongside seniors, fostering the peer-to-peer mentorship essential to design education. The Building 20 effect, referencing MIT's famous interdisciplinary incubator, encourages unplanned collaboration between art and architecture cohorts, a feature essential to our curriculum. Civically, Handley Hall anchors UMA in Augusta's downtown center. As the vacancy rate on Water Street has just dropped significantly, Handley Hall remains a primary interface between the university and the state capitol. Removing the program severs this link, diminishing our public visibility and erasing site-based learning opportunities. The resolution and request for action. The administration's decision was made without the consultation required for such a significant academic shift. Therefore, consistent with the unanimous resolution passed by the Faculty Senate on November 3, 2025, we urgently request that the Board of Trustees intervene to support the established principles of shared governance. We ask the board to direct the UMA administration to immediately halt, suspend all plans for the sale of Handley Hall and the relocation of the architecture and art programs immediately. 2, comply with NAAB by mandating a formal review of any proposed changes by NAAB with faculty participation to ensure accreditation is not compromised before any physical move is authorized. 3, conduct a feasibility study, require the hiring of a professional design firm to conduct unbiased spatial inventory and provide recommendations for a location that meets the specific pedagogical needs outlined in the faculty's architecture program document. Restore governance, engage in a comprehensive consultation with program faculty regarding spatial needs, adhering to the board's policy that academic faculty must have a voice in decisions affecting the delivery of their programs. We urge the board to protect the investments made in these programs and to ensure that administrative expedience does not dismantle a successful accredited curriculum. And then it's signed by all of the tenured architecture, art faculty, and a few English faculty as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jeff, there are 2 topics there. Do you want to take the first one first, and you have any comments you want to make?
So I can direct the first one to resources on the screen who are able to answer questions or refer those questions to the right parties. This initiative, Title II Accessibility, sits in Equal Opportunity and Human Resources, and we have both Amy Parker and Vice Chancellor Dorsey on the call. Certainly invite them to share any thoughts that they would like to at this time.
Carolyn?
No, I
You-
didn't, Amy, you would have more of the detail, but.
Okay. So I would certainly say this is challenging because many of the things that are being asked are things that we should have already been doing, to make sure that our offerings are accessible. And we do have a number of tools in place, and we're continuing to work to build those out for folks. I don't know as though I can really speak at this point to, specific questions about in-load, out-of-load, those types of things. And I'm also happy to answer any specific questions that folks may have.
I will share for the trustees' benefit, and I shared this with Trustee McMahon and the faculty representatives who were able to join us for our prep call. Sarah Henry, who is the director of UMS Equal Opportunity and Title IX Services, is leading this work on behalf of the system. There are professional staff and faculty involved in a two-pronged working group responding to this initiative. Sarah has met with the System-Wide Faculty Governance Council at their invitation. I know she's also meeting with other groups as she receives invitations to do so. So there's been an effort on the part of the group responsible for this work to communicate fully and as comprehensively as possible with people who are a party to it and would like to know more.
I would also just add quickly, I don't believe that any of the discussion revolves around whether or not this should be done. It's something clearly, as Amy and others have said, needs to be done and is being required by federal law. So it isn't something that we're opting to do that we shouldn't be doing. I do think it goes back to contract language with workload, and that is something that we have planned discussions with the union leadership about that. So that just wanted you all to know it's not something that we are certainly actively looking at having conversations with them so we can come to some agreement on what it exactly means for workload. Thank you.
Yeah, Alexander.
It would be helpful to me to get a real quick understanding of why this issue is popping up at this time. Is this new federal regulations? Is this new material that we've developed to interpret these regulations? I would just like to know a little bit more background, please.
There was a background paper published for the trustees about 10 days ago on this, Barbara. But Jeff, do you want to summarize?
I can share that this is one of several federal mandates in the last, I would say, 4 years that have come forward in different areas of our work, some involving the registrars and campus and system assessment professionals, others involving equal opportunity, others involving human resources, where existing federal requirements were raised or heightened to a new level of requirement or a new level of compliance. And this is an example of that. In past efforts, in a couple of cases, the initial federal deadline has been extended. We have had no such indication in this case that the deadline will be changed. But each of those efforts in a number of areas, some of them obscure and some of them more front and center, have involved an enormous amount of work by various faculty, professional staff, and others across the system as we come into compliance with new federal mandates.
Just could I follow up, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand that part of it, but is this new federal law and requirement in the sense of having been adopted by a federal agency recently? Or is this something that's been on the books for a while and we just sort of found it? You're nodding your head. Could we find out what other universities who have extensive online programs are doing with this sort of in other words, there must be some best practices out there about how to do this or whether it's actually being done and what technologies might be out there that would help make it more efficiently implemented and so forth. Thank you.
Amy, can you answer that?
I cannot. I can tell you that I would say this is universally something that institutions are struggling with because it is a massive impact. I think, Trustee Alexander, I think the easiest way to describe it is historically when a student, for example, had a disability that required an accommodation, then we would make that accommodation. Now we need to just make everything accessible up front. In sort of anticipation of individuals in the classroom who may require that accommodation. And that is a significant difference. And so it is requiring everyone to just pivot pretty significantly. So in the groups that we are working with, we are hearing, this is just a challenge universally, and it is massive for us.
In light of the potential expense, which I know nothing about, of course, and needs to be evaluated and taken into account, but seeking a waiver, a delay, a way to phase this in that would not significantly impact our ability to continue to do our job. So I would just hope that would be explored when appropriate. Thank you.
Tim?
Could someone I'm misunderstanding this conversation. What federal laws and mandates are we talking about that impact the issue of Handley Hall?
Tim, we returned to the first topic, the Title II accessibility discussion.
I was also confused, Tim, which when they asked what I thought, I didn't know why they were asking me about Handley Hall, and then I realized it was back to the other one. So it took me a minute to get on track, but we're on a different topic coming to you next, I think. I think. Right, Jeff?
Yes, unless there are other questions from board members about Title II. Then I think, David, we would invite any questions about the other topic just discussed.
My internet's going in and out. I don't know why. So carry on.
Any questions from trustees about Handley Hall?
Well, excuse me, but it would not be appropriate for the trustees to engage in a discussion of something that clearly has a very localized set of circumstances of which we are not aware. And this is not the type of meeting to handle that. I think that we've heard the issue. I would imagine that the system office would take a good look at this and provide some input to us at a point at which they're prepared to make a recommendation to us or to respond to what we've heard today.
Thank you, Trustee Alexander.
I'll just build on that a little bit. I think what Barbara said is correct. Also, I think obviously it's important it was raised. Also, that this is probably an FFT issue. Because it's a facilities question. So I don't know how it fits into that. Probably not for this week's meeting, but certainly it feels like since it is a facilities question, and it probably goes to the campus plans we've looked at. So, but it's good happy to have it raised.
Chair Riley?
Yeah, I would agree, of course, with Emily, but remind everyone that the board's position has been that we need to downsize. We need to make sure that we are maximizing utilization of buildings. Keeping those buildings alive and well is a cost over time. So I think the question that's arisen is, are there challenges to accreditation, which would be the purview of ASA as we implement our policy about downsizing.
President Cushman?
Yeah, I just want to, first of all, thank Tim for representing UMA faculty concerns and just affirm to the board that we are following system guidance here. And we're reviewing all of our spaces in these difficult times. And I'm happy to talk with anybody who would like to have further conversation.
Thank you. I don't know if Trustee McMahon is still with us. But our next tab is tab 3, Academic Program Proposal Preview, and I'll get us started. As part of this preview, there are 3 updates for the trustees woven into this tab by design. We had 2 requests from trustees at the last ASA meeting that I want to respond to very directly. And the first is connected to the program preview process. We had a request for the sharing of proposals with trustees in advance of their consideration at this committee, so trustees can offer their feedback on what they're seeing in light of a desire to understand the whole picture before we get to ASA and trustees see one or more new program proposals on the agenda. I had a chance to have conversations both with Trustee McMahon and separately with Chair Riley and Vice Chair Eames on this subject, and I would describe them as productive conversations about this subject. And then in discussion further with Trustee McMahon, we are developing the following approach to meet the request of the trustees, not only for ASA trustees, but for any interested trustees who want to see what's coming down the pike. We will, in January, be setting up a Google Drive for trustees. And at the point at which program proposals come forward for consideration by the provosts at CAOC and for dissemination by me through the Faculty Governance Council and the Senate and Assembly presidents to all faculty system-wide for their consideration, we will also drop those proposals into that drive for the trustees' review. We'll notify them when they are being shared in the drive. And we will develop a couple of considerations that the trustees can think about as they're considering the proposals themselves. So, and I credit Trustee McMahon for his good thinking in this area. So, is this proposal consistent with unified accreditation? Is this proposal consistent with system-wide and campus-level strategic plan objectives? Is this proposal duplicative or non-duplicative of other programs in the same or similar academic fields across the system, and related areas of potential response by the trustees? We'll leave the proposals in the Google Drive for a defined period of time. Still need to work out the details in consultation with the board chair and Trustee McMahon, and then move them into a parking lot drive and drop new proposals in as they come forward. We believe in this way we're giving the trustees an important opportunity to review academic proposals, but I also want to make it clear to the faculty on the call and to faculty listening to this broadcast, we are inviting the trustees for their feedback about how these proposals fit within our broader corpus of proposals within the system. We are not inviting administrators or trustees to reach down to the level of the specific curricular content of proposals developed by faculty. And I want to be sure to draw that distinction. So in this way, and again, subject to review by the board chair and subject to the review by Trustee McMahon, we think we will have a process in place in January for trustees to look at proposals in advance of the next ASA, which is scheduled for February 9. And with that, I'm happy to turn to Trustee Alexander for her question.
Are you proposing that individual trustees would provide review comments to this document? Or are you proposing that the document will be discussed at an ASA meeting that would allow trustees in the meeting to provide any input?
Review in advance. There is no way we can accommodate bringing proposals forward for a conversation at ASA while also trying to move proposals through ASA and onto the board. We would effectively have to double the number of ASA meetings, which I know no one would be in favor of. So the goal, Trustee Alexander, is to get your feedback in advance and the feedback of any other trustee in advance. I'll take the feedback and convey it to the provost, and the provost will then direct it on the campus accordingly, so that we can ensure that any trustee or trustees who want to comment on proposals can do so, and that the proposals receive that consideration before they are finalized and before they come before ASA. That's the plan.
I'm sorry, I think I have a big problem with this idea. I don't think individual trustees ought to be meddling in individual proposals outside of our meetings. The intent of this meeting is to have a public discussion of items that you're asking us to vote on. And the way FFT does it is to bring big ones, potentially controversial ones, significant expenditures or changes to the committee in complete draft form. And I need to talk to you and the leadership about my concern and maybe be assuaged about it. But I think I need to raise a concern here preliminarily. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alexander. I'll certainly welcome a conversation and would rely on some clarity from the board about what the board wants in this area. That clarity has been is probably overdue, so I would welcome it.
Committee ought to talk about this in public about what we would like to do, and it may not be appropriate to do it today. And I appreciate the good faith effort to make this proposal, but you heard my concerns, so let's put it off a little bit, please. Thank you.
Trustee Kane.
I mean, if we're not having the conversation today, that's fine. I don't need to have it today. If we're gonna have it, I'll be a part of it. So let me know.
I am mindful of time. I would welcome feedback from all ASA trustees on this subject, certainly and other trustees as well, who all have a vested interest in understanding what's coming forward from the campuses. So thank you. The
Is
second,
David still missing? I can't find David.
Yes, he is. He's asked me
Yeah.
to take over chair. And Beth, could you just send me the agenda by email? I'm having.
So the second of the three updates under tab 3 is regarding another request made at the last ASA meeting. We will be inviting the provost. We had a good discussion about this at the last CAOC meeting, inviting the provost to share updates on newly approved academic programs at the point at which we reach 1 year past approval or implementation or both. So in the following year, we will have an explicit update on those programs so trustees can understand what's happening. We will build those updates into the AAPR process so they are formally part of the academic program review that trustees are offering anyway on a schedule for, that provosts are offering anyway on a schedule for the trustees' consideration. And in that way, we won't miss new programs. They'll be built into what you hear annually from each provost. The provosts were uniformly supportive of that idea. I think it's a good idea, and I hope trustees will agree. And then the third update, seeing no yellow hands in upper left-hand corners right now. The third update, I will be sharing the evaluation plan for our pilot 90 credit programs in public session at the January board meeting. We did have a request from a trustee at the last meeting. When are we going to see that? I will share it. I will only caution in advance that while the plan will be in place, some of the specific questions or factors within some elements of the plan will be provisional at this point. And I'll give you two examples. Surveys of graduating students. We don't have any yet. We won't for 3 years. So we don't know what questions we're going to ask them specifically right now. And then of course, employer data. We won't know until we get students out into the field what kinds of responses they're going to offer about the preparedness of our 90 credit program graduates. But those components will both be in the evaluation plan that you see and hear about in January in draft form. And we will welcome feedback from trustees at that time about that plan. So those are my tab 3 updates. I will look early in January for an opportunity to meet with Chair Riley and Trustee McMahon and Trustee Alexander about the plan for program proposals, because we do anticipate, even though none have been confirmed yet, we do anticipate a number of proposals coming forward at the February ASA meeting for the trustees' consideration.
Thank you, Jeff. And Trustee McMahon is having internet problems, so let me try to fill in his big shoes. And I think that meeting will be really important. We clearly want to avoid the problems of seeing things first at a point of approval without having comments. That clearly is driving faculty crazy, and we want to support obviously the faculty governance responsibilities. let me move us on to the informational item, the program name change, AA and liberal studies. And I believe that's Jeff and Provost Zekas.
It is. This one's straightforward, and I'll happily turn it over to Joe.
Good morning, folks. So again, very straightforward. Last year, we made the name change of our BA in Liberal Studies to our BA in Interdisciplinary Studies, kind of a bigger name for a bigger umbrella of our degree, degree progress efforts here. And now we're finishing our work now. Now we've turned our attention to the associate's degree, and now we just need to rename that, and happy to take questions about it.
Any questions? Seeing none, and I can't see everybody, so if you have a question, pop up. Let's then move on to the informational, thank you, Joe, informational item on substantive name change for the MS in spatial computing. Jeff and Provost Paquette.
Thank you, Chair Riley. So this one and the next one follow the same process and entail some of the same considerations. I just want to provide a brief overview, and then Provost Paquette, who's quite eloquent on his own, can share specifics about each of the two tabs. We have, as all trustees know, a process for approving brand new programs. We also have a separate board policy and APL governing substantive changes to existing programs. Those substantive changes include creation or addition of a large number of courses or integration of content from existing programs. In this case, you have the continued good work of integration of academic programming under the Maine College of Engineering and Computing. In the next case, you have a multi-phase, multi-year process of bringing into current nomenclature programs that are extant in the School of Marine Sciences at the University of Maine, but taking elements of those programs and putting them under a name that is consistent with the school's aims and enrollment aspirations and other important strategic elements of those programs. So we have followed scrupulously this substantive change process, and I give credit, of course, to the University of Maine and faculty and professional staff and administrators there for the work they've done. I will, just so trustees can understand the scale of these two efforts, tab 5 and tab 6, in order to reach you, this information about the substantive change for the MS in spatial computing at UMaine went through 9 levels of approval. And the marine science renaming and combining of material at the MS and PhD level went through 7 levels of approval at the campus and system levels. So there's been an enormous amount of work done. And with that, on the subject of MS and spatial computing, I'll turn to Provost Paquette.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Vice Chancellor St. John, and good morning, trustees and other distinguished members of this committee. Yeah, it's my pleasure really just to elaborate on what Jeff has already said, specifically with regard to the integration of the Master of Science in Spatial Information Science and Engineering and the Master of Science in Spatial Informatics into a 30-credit MS in Spatial Computing. This really reflects our faculty's continued drive to ensure that our offerings reflect the state of knowledge as well as the composition of our faculty and their distinctive strengths, and is responsive to demands of students. And in this case, I think all of the different levels of review have permitted a refinement of what is now before you, and we believe that all students who are currently enrolled in these programs can be easily accommodated. We believe that this integration will not only sort of clarify student options, but actually will attract more students to this particular degree now that it's not as fragmented as perhaps it once was before. So we're very pleased about this, and I think this is a good example of shared governance in action. So thank you.
Thank you. And Provost Paquette, why don't Jeff introduce both tab 6 and 7, 5 and 6? Why don't you talk about the marine biology as well?
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Chair Riley. Yes, I'd be delighted to. I mean, sort of along similar lines, we've had essentially a PhD in oceanography and a PhD in marine biology, and we're bringing those together into a single marine science program. Similarly, we've had a master's in oceanography and MS in marine biology, and we can now bring these together as well. So nothing's really being lost here. Everything's being gained. Students will still be able to pursue exactly the same types of concentrations, pursue precisely the same kinds of areas that they previously were able to. But this represents, integration, which hopefully will, again, be good from a student perspective, help satisfy demand of students who are looking for a more capacious degree, and overall, we think reflects the strength of our faculty and the interests of our students, given the current configuration of knowledge.
Great, thank you, Gib. Any questions or concerns from any trustee? Very clear, good data in the book. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
Why don't we move on then to the ASA work plan, and that is Vice Chancellor St. John and Jamie Ballinger.
This is the point at which Vice Chancellor St. John once again thanks either Jamie Ballinger or Heather Ball for writing a really strong report reflective of the ASA work plan. In this case, Jamie Ballinger. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jamie with thanks again for what she's done here.
Thank you all and good morning. This is a relatively straightforward report. We generate it once a year and present it to the ASA to update all of you on the non-traditional alternative pathways to education that we provide here within the University of Maine system. As you know, several strategic plan goals are related to these alternative pathways, which includes micro-credentials, certificates, online offerings, things like CBE do fall into these buckets. These are the pathways through which students can generate professional educational opportunities, enter into education in a way that's more bite-sized and manageable for them, or enter into their educational journey from remote locations. As the report details, micro-credentials are serving the educational needs for professionals throughout our state. Right now, we have a portfolio of 52 micro-credentials that are being served through the University of Maine system, with an additional 12 under development right now. Those are due to launch in the upcoming months. With those micro-credentials, we have provided approximately 10,000 badges to professionals throughout our state. That could be existing UMS students or working professionals who are only engaging in the micro-credential. Similarly, we offer about 148 undergraduate and graduate certificates. 43 of those have launched since COVID, since 2021. We serve about 1,300 students a year in those certificate programs. They can be standalone or they can be offered alongside a bachelor's or graduate degree as an add-on credential. About 300 to 350 students per year do graduate with those certificates. Finally, the biggest chunk of this report is dedicated to online learning here within the University of Maine system. For the purposes of this report, CBE, competency-based education, is included within online. In future reports, that will be broken out. We have just created the coding on the back end to be able to break those out quickly and easily for all of you. However, the total number of our online programs since 2021 has grown by about 35%. That is working toward the goal of 50% growth as outlined by the strategic plan. About 63% of those have been graduate certificates. That's the most popular new credential entering into our portfolio. Adoption of online learning is very high among our students. About 34% of our students are in fully online programs. About 33% of traditional students, on-campus students, have taken at least one online course. Finally, I would encourage you to look at the graphic that appears on page 4 of the report. It shows the growth in online credit hours versus on-campus credit hours. And you'll see between 22 and 25, the number of credits delivered in online courses has grown by about 20%, while the number of traditional in-person courses has decreased by about 4.1%. We continue to create pathways for these non-traditional alternative pathway students to engage in academic advising. We continue to create new ways for them to learn of online courses available throughout our system. That's been significantly propped up by the Unified Catalog Initiative. We have a long way to go before these students are getting all of the services that they might need. However, we are working toward it with groups across all 7 of our campuses every day. And with that, I will turn it back to Jeff and open it up for any questions.
Just one piece of context for the trustees. So you all know what happened in March of 2020, a massive conversion of delivery of all things by our very talented faculty to online remote delivery. And then we had a slow drift back over the course of the next 2.5 years, but not all the way back to the previous balance between online and face-to-face courses. In the process of that, as Jamie discovered a couple of years ago and has been working on ever since, our Main Street functionality is not such that we had a firm grasp of the number of programs that are now or still being delivered in online formats. Not all the modality changes were reported on the front end because of the need to instantaneously convert everything. Work by Jamie, Justin Young in our institutional research staff, and Robert Placido's team has allowed us finally to develop a coding mechanism so we can figure out the totality of programs delivered online across our system at every level, minor, certificate, all degree levels. We now have that data and we'll be updating it regularly. Trustee Baldacci, can I answer any question for you?
Yes, I had a question just about demographics and whether you're able to see who these people are, maybe age range, if they are in the state, where they are within the state. I think that would be helpful information to color this report as well.
Thank you. We do have quite a bit of that information, and we can certainly build that into reporting of this kind. Thank you.
Trustee Cates?
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Jamie and Jeff. Just a question, both on the micro-credentials side and the increase in certificate side, do we have any figures on how many credit hours those are generating and how that's changed since year to year since the pandemic?
Great question. So micro-credentials are non-credit bearing. And they are not, in fact, a formal academic credential of any kind within our system, which is not unusual for micro-credentialing regionally and nationally. Certificate delivery has seen some growth, in part because of the chancellor's good urging that we begin stacking certificates and offering them to students, including returning adult learners who have had some engagement in that area as well. But we can, I know Jamie just wrote down what Trustee Baldacci asked, and if she can add Trustee Cates's question to that, we'll get you some data back in both of those areas.
Thank you. And I should know this, but on the micro-credential side, which does not result in specifically credit hours, is there a typical number of hours that a micro-credential will take to acquire, just for information purposes here?
There is, and if I give you the wrong number, then I'll feel bad. So I'm going to get an accurate answer and send that to you along with the other data.
Thanks very much.
I will note for trustees on the subject of micro-credentials that we are in discussion with the provost right now. Our system partner, JMG, Job for Maine's Graduates, has developed its own set of credentials and have expressed interest in offering those credentials to come in as credit for prior learning to one or more of our universities. This would be a step in a new direction. We've had a presentation from JMG to the provosts and have asked all the provosts to be in discussion with their faculty, Senate leadership, and other faculty, their transfer officers, their registrars, about the possibility of reviewing the JMG credential. As I think many trustees know, JMG heavily invested in Maine high schools, working with a high percentage of Maine high school students, and has a staff member working at each of our universities. It's a state partner and one we're really very eager to continue a positive relationship with. So there may be a new way of looking at micro-credentialing coming forward at one or more of our universities, provided that the faculty are supportive of that move.
And Jeff, I would like to add to that just the fact that nationally, so American Council on Education, or ACE, has done a lot of work around that. They've assessed national certifications and micro-credentials and looking at how that might transition over to credit bearing. So there are other folks nationally looking at a considerable amount of information and helping to guide those decisions. So it isn't something that we are just doing on our own or doing without information from a national resource. So really pleased that the system is moving in this direction and beginning to do this, but it is something that has been done certainly across the country.
Great. Any other questions? Trustee Alexander.
Yes, just what is it that the board can do to support these initiatives? And do we have sufficient resources to take something like credentialing or micro-credentialing and turn it into revenue for the system in some way? I mean, where is what can we do as a board to move this process along or help you develop these policies?
That's a great question, Trustee Alexander. I'm grateful to you for answering it, for asking it. First is help us as we work with faculty through their provosts, who are all already working with their faculty and doing a great job in thinking about the next step for micro-credentialing, which would be credit for prior learning. And to Carolyn's point, this is an emerging regional and national area of interest, and I think may become a best practice sooner rather than later. We would like to be on the front end of that rather than lagging behind. I think the second area is, and we have some data on this, and I'll add that to Jamie's list of external partners who are interested in having us develop. By us, I mean faculty and staff on our campuses working with Claire Sullivan, who leads our system-wide micro-credentialing effort, to develop micro-credentials that would be fee-bearing. So even if you're not earning credit, you're paying for access to the micro-credential. Those dollars go back to support the units that develop them, academic units that develop them, and then also to support the micro-credentialing work that Claire does centrally on behalf of the system. So those are two areas that are front and center right now.
Would it be helpful, and I'm suggesting this completely out of the blue, for the system to develop some written policy statements that the board could consider and potentially adopt that would help make clear the importance of this to the system and the need to implement it to meet the board's direction?
So I still owe you 2 items from the last policy subcommittee meeting, Trustee Alexander, and I'm feeling bad about that, but I'm certainly willing to add that to as a discussion item for our next meeting. It'd be great to hear what you and Trustee Flood, Trustee Eames think about that.
Right. And what I'm suggesting is that other trustees may need to weigh in on whether we want such a policy. And once that's determined, our little group can sit down and work with the words. But I just put that out there for discussion, perhaps, with the system, with the board's leadership on that.
Thank you.
And I would just add, I thought Trustee Baldacci's question was really important, and particularly around micro-credentials and certificates about, who's taking them, where are they? And I'd add to that, and what does the workforce say to it? What are employers saying about these credentials? Are they valued? Are they, and this is a question for later. I don't mean us to address it now. And how do we make those connections? Because I know there's been a lot of outreach about their value. And in fact, to Trustee Alexander's point, that might be a place of revenue bearing if employers want specific kinds of micro-credentials. Second thought is, we've been talking a lot about having more time at board meetings to talk about issues that really require the board to more fully understand them. And one issue might be the pedagogy of online learning for undergraduates. You know, when I think about teaching and at being a student, I think about the engagement of students together and questioning and discussion and asking questions. And I'd be curious about how online education works to engage students. And again, that might be a discussion point for our January meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I believe that brings us to.
You asked me to share an update.
Very important. I did ask you to share.
Riley.
What's going on with 90 credit hours, Jeff?
I'm glad you asked. So, and I don't want to jump in front of the chancellor who led the way on this from beginning to end, but Chair Riley asked me to say that we did get word back from NECHI recently. 3 of the 5 programs that we put forward have been approved by the commission for delivery. We anticipate launch in summer of 2026. The 3 programs that have been approved are the applied program at UMA in public administration, the applied program at Fort Kent in business management, and the applied program at UMPI in applied psychology. The remaining 2 programs were deferred for future action. Those were the 2 general studies programs, the liberal studies program at UMPI and the college studies program at Machias. Certainly have more to share with the trustees in the near future about the status of those 2 programs and what our opportunity might be for bringing them forward to approval. But I did want to share the news today that the 3 that have been approved are free to launch. I have a document that only requires a little bit more feedback from NECHI, from the commission, before I can finalize it and share it with the 3 presidents and provosts who have a green light to launch next summer, so they can begin marketing actively in January for those programs.
Congratulations. It's a very important pilot, and we look forward to its implementation. That's just great news. Great news. Okay, with that, may I have a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA Section 4056A to discuss the evaluation of personnel and the consideration and discussion of appointments, evaluations, employment, and duties?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Kane, seconded by Trustee Alexander, and the clerk will take the vote.
Trustee Riley,
Yes.
Trustee McMahon. I'm not sure about his sound. Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
Trustee Worth,
Yes.
Trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
Trustee Kane,
Yes.
Trustee Eames,
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Cates.
Yes.
I'll move you into executive session.
the message is change is hard, and you need
Hi, Chancellor. Are you supposed to be out of the meeting or muted? You're muted, sorry. You're still muted.
Okay, we are back and out of executive session, and with that, I conclude this meeting of the ASA and see you again in 2026. Happy holidays.